Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, thank you for stopping by. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. So in today's video, I'll be sharing with you how to draft a bustier pattern with queen and neckline. This video is a very detailed video and it's beginner friendly. If this is something you'd like to know more about, keep on watching and let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is to draw a straight line at the top of my paper. This will serve as a shoulder line. We'll be starting our measurements from there. I'll start placing my vertical measurements from the line. The first one I have there is my chest line, which is 9.5. The bust point line, which is 11.5. The under bust is 15 inches. The waistline is 18 inches. And the length of the top I'm working with is 25 inches. So I'm just going to extend the lines now. Then I'm going to label my lines. I have the shoulder line, the chest line, the bust line, under bust, waistline, and the full length of my top. The top length there. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to place half of my shoulder measurements on the shoulder line and on the chest line. Then I'm going to connect that with a straight ruler. Then I place the neck width, which is 4 inches. And I came down 1 inch from the shoulder line. And I'll connect that to the neck width to form my shoulder slants. Then I'll get the midpoints of what I have on this line. And I'll come in by 0.75 inch from there. Then on the chest line, I place quarter of my bust circumference there. Then I'm going to connect the 3 points together to get my armhole. I'm going to connect that with a curve. Then I placed half of my bust span measurements on the bust line and on the length of the top. Half of the bust span measurements I'm working with is 4.5. That is my nipple to nipple measurement. It's 4.5. Then I'll connect that with a straight ruler. I'm going to place my darts now. On the under bust line, I placed 1.25 inches on both sides of the bust span line. And on the waistline, I placed 1 inch on both sides of the bust span line. Then I'm going to connect the lines like that. I'm going to connect the under bust to the waistline. Then I'll connect the waistline down to the length of the top like that. I'll do the same thing to the other side as well. I'll connect my dots. I came down 1 inch below my bust point line. So I'm going to connect that to my under bust with my curved ruler. I'll do the same thing to the other side. I'll connect it with my curve. The next thing I did was to get the midpoint of what I have on my shoulder slants. Then I'm going to connect that to the bust line, to the bust point line like that. Then the next thing I will do now is to draw my style line. On the lines that divide the shoulder, I came down by 7 inches there. So I'm going to connect that to the chest line to form my sweetheart neckline. You can go deeper depending on what you want, depending on how much cleavage you want to show. But I'm going to be maintaining the chest line here for mine. So I'm going to connect that like that. And I'll connect it to the armhole as well with my curve. So I'm going to tighten my bust line now. I'll place 0.75 inch on both sides of the line. You can make use of 0.5 inch if you're a small size. So I'll connect it back into the bust line. So for my queen and neckline now, all I'll do is to connect my neck width to the second dart leg there with my ruler, I'm going to connect those 2 points together. I'll connect my neck width to the dart leg, to the second dart leg there. I'll connect that with a straight ruler, just like that. So I'll be placing my circumference measurements now. So on the chest line, I'll place quarter of the bust circumference plus 1 inch side seam allowance. And on the waistline, I'll place quarter of the waistline measurements. Quarter of the waist measurements I'm working with here is 9.5 inches. Then I'll add a 2 inches dart intake. And I'll add 1 inch side seam allowance. And on the top length, what I place there is quarter of the hip circumference plus 1 inch side seam allowance. So I'm going to connect the points together. I'm going to connect the points together like that. Then I'll connect the seam allowance as well. Then I'm going to place my bust darts. My bust darts is the difference between my front and my back pattern. So my front is 2 inches longer than my back. So I'm going to place the difference there. So I'll come down 2 inches below my bust line like that. Then I'll connect it to the bust point like that. So that is my bust dart. So I'm just shading the parts I'm going to cut off like that. So for the basque effect at the front, all I did was to come up by 3 inches from the top length. I came up by 3 inches like that. Then I'm going to connect that. Then I'm going to connect that point with my curve. I'll connect it to the top length like that. And that will be all for the front pattern. You can see it's just a curve. It's a curved basque. It's not a sharp one. So I'm going to cut out now. So I'm going to slash my bust darts and I'll close that with my masking tape. Then I'll close the dart on my neckline there. You'll notice it's not aligning. All I'll do is to place my curve and I'll redraw my neckline just like that. So that line is the new line we'll be cutting out. So the upper line is the one I'm going to be cutting out. So that will be all for the front pattern. So I'm going to label my patterns now. So I have my center front here. And this is my side front. And that's my seam allowance. And this is the yoke. So that is all for the front pattern. We are going to move to the back now. So this is my back pattern here. All I have on this line is from the center fold, I have my zipper allowance, which is 1 inch. So I'm going to place my vertical measurements. I'll place my chest line, which is 9.5. Then I'll place the waistline, which is 16 inches. Remember the front waistline is 18 inches. And I told you the difference between my back and my front is 2 inches. So that is why I'm placing 16 inches here. That means my back is 2 inches shorter than my front. And the top length for my back is 23 inches. It's 2 inches shorter than the front top length as well. The front top length is 25 inches. So the back is 23 inches. So I'm going to connect my points now. I'm going to draw a straight line across, just like that. I'm going to label my lines. I have the shoulder line, chest line, the waistline, and the top length. Then I placed half of my shoulder measurements on the shoulder line and on the chest line. Make sure your measurement is starting from the line after your zipper allowance line. Then I'll connect that with a straight line. Then the next thing I did was to place my neck width, which is 4 inches, and the neck depth is 1.5 inches. Then I'll connect that with my curve. Then the next thing I did was to come down 1 inch from the shoulder line, and I'll connect that to the neck width to form my shoulder slant. Then I find the midpoint of that line there. I marked the midpoint and I came in by 0.5 inch. And on the chest line, I placed quarter of the bust circumference there, and I'll connect that with my armhole curve to form my armhole. I'll connect the 3 points like that. Then the next thing I did was to place half of my nipple to nipple measurements on the chest line and on the top length. Then I'll connect that with my straight ruler. On the waistline, I placed 0.5 inch on both sides of the bust span line. Then I'll connect that to the chest line like that, and I'll connect that to the top length like that. I'll do the same thing to the other side as well. Then I placed quarter of my bust circumference on the chest line, and I added 1 inch side seam allowance. On the waistline, I placed quarter of the waist circumference plus the 1 inch dart intake, and I added 1 inch side seam allowance. On the top length, I placed quarter of the hip circumference, then I added 1 inch side seam allowance. Then I'm going to connect my dots together with my ruler. Then I'll connect the seam allowance as well. So I'm just going to extend my waistline there like that. So to eliminate zipper bulge, all I'll do is to come in by ½ inch on the zipper line like that. So I'm eliminating ½ inch from the center back like that. So I'm going to connect that point to the neckline like that. And I'll connect that back to the top length. So that point, we are going to be cutting out that point. So the next thing I did was to divide my shoulder slant. I found the midpoint, then I connected it back to the chest line. Remember, for the front, we came up by 3 inches from the down part to form our basque. So we are going to repeat the same process for the back. I came up by 3 inches from the top length. So if you want the back also to have a basque effect, all you have to do is to place your curved ruler just like we did for the front. Then just connect it, the point like that. But I want mine to be straight. I want my back pattern to be straight. I don't want a basque effect on the back. So all I did was just come up by 3 inches. Then I connected it with a straight line like that. So I'll be cutting off that point. So I'm going to cut out my back pattern now. So I'm going to cut off my darts. I'll be separating my center back from the side back like that. I'll cut my neckline. So that will be all. So I'll go ahead to label my pattern. This is my center back and the side back. So that will be all for this tutorial. In the next video, I'll be showing you how to cut the pieces on fabric, and I'll show you how to join them as well. If this video has been helpful to you, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and click on your post notification so you'll be notified each time I upload a new video. Thank you for watching. Bye.